everybody. As you could tell, we have fancy new mics today. We have, cameras closer. So it's going to be a fun episode because we get to, work with new technology. So anything can happen. I feel like I say that every week, but, things are constantly changing. Well, good morning. Happy Valentine's Day.
Oh, happy Valentine's Day. Yeah.
So we're pre-Valentine's Day, but when people are watching this, it'll be Love Day.
Yeah.
So, I got to make sure you hold your mic up.
Oh, that's tomorrow.
What, Valentine's Day?
Yeah.
I know, yeah. We're recording later this week because of life events that we had. So, we're going to, this is our second episode that we're going to talk about forgiveness.
Yeah.
And we're going to go a little bit more in depth today. And Melissa is going to give us some of her wisdom with going through forgiveness and give us 5 steps. Right?
Yes.
For walking through forgiveness. She has more than 5,
yes.
but we try and keep our podcast at a reasonable watching time.
Yes.
So I guess kind of starting everything. I was just going to jump in. We were talking this morning and I realized that, people who don't know us watching this probably you don't know who we are. And so I was just going to give a little snip of, I'm Ashley.
I'm Melissa.
Yeah, I know we say our name. So I'm 30 and I may have said this in the first podcast, but I do have 2 kids. I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old boy. Well, they're both boys. And I'm pregnant with my 3rd. I'm due in July. I know. I'm so excited. I'm convinced it's a girl.
Yes.
My husband is convinced that he only makes boys.
Oh,
so
please.
It's just going to be another boy.
Yeah, whatever.
I had, which I'm about to go into some more detail, but had some life changes in December, which put me at, ultimately, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I'm staying home with my 2 toddlers. Not Benjamin's not a toddler, but my 2 kids.
Well,
but I'm also a health and wellness.
Yeah.
I guess
Coach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I have my own business.
Yeah.
So I kind of do that on the side and help people live
And you've got
healthy
some
lifestyles.
degrees and,
I
teaching
do.
and all the things.
I have my
which is why
doctorate.
she's perfect for me because,
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I have
I
my
need a
doctorate
teacher.
in special education.
Hello.
I'm just kidding. Special education, and then I'm getting certifications with like personal trainer and female fitness. So
No, that's great. That's great.
So I taught in public school for 8 years.
Yep.
And
Wow.
then moved to a preschool to be with my kids for half a school year.
Wow.
And that's
8 years.
Yeah, I was
Holy
in
cow.
Gwinnett County for 5 years and then Barrow County for 3, and I did self-contained special education all those times.
Wow.
Loved it, but I wanted to be home with my kids more.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
did preschool for half a year and then ended up where I am today.
Yeah.
So,
No, that's good. That's good.
so give a little snippet of who you are.
So I am going to be 50 in September. So, I mean, there is quite an age difference there, but that's okay. I have 3 kids. I have 2 girls and a boy. They are grown, and I have a granddaughter. She is going to be 4 in May. Wow.
Time flies.
I don't know how old my kids are, 20-something. I don't know. But the grandbaby now, she's going to be 4 in May. That I do know, May the 8th. And she's my life, actually, at this point. But I've done a variety of things, I guess. Mostly customer service. That's what the grocery store. I worked for the county for a little while. And I always just found myself helping people. That's the role that I guess I play, is the helping people. And even today, I'll go in the stores and people ask me, where to find something. And oddly enough, I know what to tell them. Yeah. But, I went to high school and then, I wanted to go to college to be a psychiatrist, actually. But no, that wasn't going to happen. So no, I moved to Georgia just out of high school. 2 weeks after graduation, just packed up the U-Haul and moved to a place that I had nobody, didn't know anybody, and started a new life. And here I am now,
And then we ended up coming together.
Yeah. And then we've actually been together for, I don't know, the last 14, 15, how long? Long time.
14 or 15.
10 years?
Years? Yeah, 10 years.
10 years? Is it only 10 years? 10, 11
For me,
years?
10 years. Other
Okay.
people in my family, about 15,
Yeah,
I believe.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and then,
it doesn't feel like it's been that long.
It goes by so fast. And then we actually, I guess how we came about this was kind of talking about, it just happened. Like, you were thinking about podcasts, and then I mentioned going and being on a podcast.
Yes.
And then we connect over how we believe. Like, so the whole reason Be the Change came about was, you know, with me being a health coach, I'm very passionate about helping people be healthy from the inside out.
Yes.
And, you know, I'm not a huge person on fad diets and things like that. Like, I'm just overall healthy.
Yeah.
And part of that, especially with women, is your mental well-being and your spiritual well-being. And we connected at that level. Yes. That's what we started talking about.
Yes.
And then you said Be the Change. And I was like, absolutely. And so we wanted to start this podcast to kind of spread that and walk through certain areas of life and be hopeful. I would say, like, it was really about being hopeful and just being encouraging to other women. I mean, if a man's watching this, you can enjoy it too. But
That's right, because we can encourage you as well. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, it is all about restoring the hope of people because, you know,
there's so much like depression.
It's hard. Life is hard.
Yeah.
And I know for me, and you had spoke a little bit too, you know, on a one-on-one, where you do feel like you're the only one doing this, and you're not.
Yeah, in
and
reality, like everybody's going through similar things. Yeah.
But everybody feels alone, and that's not how it should be. You know, we should come together and try to do this together because I think everybody has something to offer. For me, I had been thinking about this for quite a while. There was, I don't know, sometime, maybe it was the summer of 2021. I was at a function actually, and somebody had made a comment about a younger girl, teenage girl, I think she was maybe. Some kind of snide comment. It doesn't even matter what was said. But my response to that was, well, what are you doing to maybe make sure that doesn't happen? Like, what is your part in this? You're just going to sit back and talk about her? Or are you going to help her? And then I was seeing like posts on social media where, you know, maybe it was a homeless veteran or whatever the case was. I don't know. But the post was, or the comment was, you know, when are they going to do something? And it struck me such a way. Who is they? who are the they we're talking about? You know, wouldn't I be part of that they? Like, and so that's when I think my journey really diving into forgiveness and working through all the things so that I could be here today.
Yeah.
To kind of share, spread light on the issues or whatever. Yeah. You know, because I'll eat the donuts. I'm not the health guru that she is. But now the mental health and the spiritual wellness, now that I can touch on. But
it's
you give me the donuts and the cake and the cookies, and I'll be just fine.
Yeah. Awesome. So, I just wanted to make sure, because when I got to thinking about all the episodes we've done, I was like, I don't really think we've gone really deep into our why.
I forget.
In our first episode, I think we were like, oh, we're going to talk about it. Yeah. But then it was our first episode, and it was just like, you know, the nerves and the jitters, and we didn't really go in depth.
Yeah.
Also, if y'all see me kind of looking like I'm crazy, with our new technology. Well, first of all, we are crazy. With our new technology, I'm trying to make sure everything's working. Yeah. So if the video's lagging, you know, this is just going to be a fun episode.
Yeah.
So kind of diving into forgiveness, we'll just go ahead and get started with that piece. So last week, some people could probably tell I was a little nervous talking about forgiveness. Yeah. And then I may have made a comment, which I don't know. So I was reflecting back on that. And so, Melissa, today, I'm really feeling led to share a little bit more on what I'm going through, just to kind of put some light to this situation, because talking more in depth, like with her giving 5 steps and stuff today, I'm learning just as much through this process, and I'm in a state of healing.
Yeah.
So when we really start diving in about forgiveness, I may not have as much to say. I may be more of like a bystander listening and just taking in, because I am currently dealing with some emotions with a situation that happened. Well, it all like really happened in December, but I would say it'd been taking place for about a year. And without giving too many details, because I wanted to keep this really brief, but just to kind of give some insight to how we are trying to be the change, how we are, you know, and when she had forgiveness on her heart, I was like, I really think it was for me. But I was at a church for myself about 10 years. My husband and his family had been there longer, and was very much serving in the church, as much as I could, because it's how I was raised. It's just what I love to do. So I was leading worship and going on mission trips. And actually me stepping away from public school was deciding to go there for the preschool. So a lot of pouring in to this ministry in this place. And sorry if I'm huffing and puffing, it's because of the baby. It's not because I'm like, this baby's really getting me.
She really is a fitness coach, I promise.
I know,
she
I really
is.
do work out, even though I'm on camera looking a little wide set. But so yeah, I had came across some conflicts probably starting last summer, and in my gut, which I trust my gut a lot because I really pray for insight and for God to give me wisdom in situations. And there were some situations happening that I knew just were not right. But with me being younger, I know I'm not a baby, but like being younger, I don't have a lot of life wisdom.
So you ignored your gut?
No, I didn't ignore my gut, but it was, I knew something wasn't right, but the wisdom part came with, I don't exactly know how to handle this.
Right, okay.
So then I had to think, like I did seek some wisdom out from other people who have been in ministry for many years. And I tried to handle situations based off of some advice that I was getting and what, you know, I'd pray about it. So whether or not it necessarily happened the right way is kind of like, I don't know, but like I just kind of did what I believe I was being led in the moment. So anyway, I tried to handle some situations. They did not get resolved. Move on a few more months. More situations happened. And I tried to go to some people within, I guess within the church or within the preschool. I mean, it was kind of, you know, tied in together, and express some of these things. And my husband and I both tried to follow the Matthew 18 principle, and it completely 180. I mean, it just flipped on us, and it just turned into a really bad situation. You know, like nobody,
you didn't, the reaction was not what you.
Right. And it's like I tell, you know, anybody that knows a situation that happened, or even like my husband, like I was not looking for people to side with me. That is not what I was looking for, but I was expressing some concerns from a biblical standpoint.
Right.
And I just wanted to feel heard. Like, you know, like something is being acknowledged.
Right.
And again, I wasn't looking for people to come like, oh, whatever you say, Ashley. Like it was not that.
Right. Yeah.
But there were some things that were happening that were just really not okay.
Sure.
And so anyways, it just turned into a really bad situation, and resulted in me feeling like I was put in a position to where my character was being questioned, and I was about to become a person that I used to be in my past that I am not today, and I do not want to be today.
Right.
And so my husband and I came to the conclusion that if that was where I was being led to, that I needed to exit.
Yeah.
And so I did. I made the decision to leave, and that was a decision based off of my spiritual well-being, my character. And so I left, and then, you know, it just turned even worse after that. And where a lot of people deal with emotions and hurt, that's exactly what happened to us. A lot of rumors were being spread. People I've known for 10 years were believing lies about me that were that instead of coming and talking to me, they were just spreading rumors.
Right.
And I was like, it was so baffling and so hurtful that I felt like I could not return to a place where people were believing somebody who was bearing false witness over myself, who I've been like, it's just because I've been there for 10 years and I have not given anybody a reason at that church for me myself.
You knew them better. You thought they knew you better.
Right. And so I'm like, well, of course I don't know their reasoning. I don't know like what was going on behind those closed doors, but the way things were being treated and handled to me was so hurtful and so baffling that, I mean, 3 months later, 3 months is not a long time. I'm still, and I was telling you earlier, like, when I'm at home and I'm sitting and thinking about what happened, I'm extremely sad. Because I have, my 2 young children who are questioning, like, why can't we go back there? They've been there since birth. So, my oldest was there for 5 years. Like, that was his second home. So those are just sad feelings.
Yes.
And then when I think that I'm just kind of like, I'm just dealing with emotions, and then coming to your house. This is in the community, so I have to drive through everybody's home that personally hurt me. And then the place that it happened. And so then I find myself getting angry and anxious. And so I'm personally dealing with all the emotions. So,
and I've been there. I know those feelings.
And I saw,
girl, like, it gets so bad for me sometimes, or it used to, that I would want to just open the car door, jump out, and just start running. Okay, well, I'm going faster in the car. Where are you going to run to? Right? But like, that's the feeling. You want to escape. You got nowhere to go. Kind of thing.
And I know, like I was telling you, when all of this first happened, because you want to believe that when you're a Christian and you are grounded in the Word and you are serving and you're trying to live every day for Christ as much as you can, you try and believe like, well, it's not that I haven't forgiven them. I'm just dealing with feelings. And that's what I kept telling myself. Like, I just got to get through the emotions and everything that's going on here and in my heart. But I wouldn't say it was forgiveness. Well, then I was like, no, I really do think, because I am truly angry at a lot of the stuff that went down. And, betrayal is the biggest one. And so then I saw where you had this book, and I've seen this book around, and I asked if I could borrow it. And I was like, because I really got some work to do. And so I just wanted to read a little snippet. So this is Forgiving What You Can't Forget. Highly recommend. I'm only like 3 chapters in, but it's already been extremely changing. But one of the things that really made me like realize, I really got some forgiveness feelings to work through, is it says, the lady who was writing this said, in all the research I've done on forgiveness, I found many legitimate feelings feeding the resistance that holds many of us back. And so she goes through a big list, but just reading through these, I was like, oh my gosh, that's me. Because it says, I fear the offense will be repeated. Okay, if I go to another church and meet new people, is this going to happen all over again? So I do fear that. Hanging on to a grudge gives me a sense of control in a situation that felt so unfair. Let's see. There was one that was like, I still feel hurt. I do still feel hurt. And then, so there's just like this whole list of them. And I was like, so many of those resonate with me. And then she said afterwards, I knew as a Christian I was supposed to forgive. I may have even whispered a faint prayer using the word forgiveness. But truly understanding how to forgive, I wasn't sure. And isn't it odd that though forgiveness is a major part of the Christian faith, most of us have never been taught much about it. So that's whenever I was thinking about you and going through the steps and stuff. And I was like, so I just wanted, to tell that little snippet, because if I don't talk much, once you start telling the steps, it's because I want to be taught. I want to know how to forgive, because, so more in depth about that and things we've talked about. But I am looking forward to walking through the steps and truly being healed, because I can honestly say to everybody listening and to you, I'm not there yet.
No.
And that's just me being very honest and very vulnerable.
Well, I mean, it's for you, it's super fresh. It just happened. Who would have thought that I would have needed a microphone this close to my mouth? Really? I mean, never in my life would I have ever. But here we are. It actually makes me feel better about myself.
Okay, good.
Okay. So for me, I'll just real quick go with why I started with that book, I suppose. And it was this summer, I think, of 2023 is actually when I picked that up. That and the workbook, and I highly recommend them. Lisa Turkhurst.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I slandered her name. I'm so, slaughtered her name. So sorry, but very helpful because the steps, all the things, like such wise advice that she gives, and that's really where I learned it all because I had no idea. I mean, I am one of the ones that could shut the door and walk away and not think twice about it. It doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter who you are. And while I think that's okay, sometimes you have to do that. You have to process that feeling that made you shut the door and walk away. And most people don't do that. And most people walk around bitter, only they don't know it. I just thought I was still angry or sad or mad or whatever. But no, it turned out that I was actually bitter. Like I couldn't stand to even be around myself. And I don't know if anybody has got to that point or knows even what I'm talking about when I say that. It's a horrible place to be. So I'm glad I got you long before that because I wouldn't have wanted you to be there. It's no fun. But the things that I learned in the process of reading that book and how to deal with my feelings, you have to reflect on what happened, what parts made you feel a certain way, and then, maybe what could you have done different, if anything, and maybe nothing. But I think you still need to ask all of those questions just to cross them off. And then you have to process it all. Like, feel the feelings, feel the anger, the hurt, there was a lot of days I didn't even have words for how I felt. So, like, I don't even, know all the feelings that.
Well, and I feel like sometimes, too, like, I'm feeling things here that I can't express here.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, that's what I try to tell some people. I'm very much a processor and an internalizer. And it's like, just let me feel.
Yeah.
And that does not mean I need to sit and talk because I can't.
Right.
I can't tell you what I'm feeling.
Right. Yes. But, right. Nobody knows what you mean when you say that, or they don't think they do maybe. Maybe when they leave, they're like, maybe I know what that means, but most people don't sit and process their feelings, no matter what they are, because we don't ever stop. We're always moving. And you can't be connected to God if you're always moving. Like, you've got to stop and just sit there a minute. You don't got to do it long, but you've got to do it. Otherwise, it won't get done. And then you've got to ask the questions, both to yourself and then to God. Like, are my feelings valid? Is it okay to feel this way? Because I think you'll find it is okay to feel the things. You can't stay there. You've got to keep going. You've got to persevere. And you'll find your answers if you open up the Bible. Like, I promise you, whatever always has been for me. If there was something on my mind that I had a question of, or I was having a hard time processing, I would open up the Bible. And I don't know. I didn't have a specific place at that moment of where to look. I just knew I would find it. And then the more I read the Bible, the more I related to all the people in the Bible. I'm like, wow, that's weird, but for various reasons, once you find your answers, I always was comforted. Like I always felt like,
kind of like an aha moment. Like,
yeah.
Oh, that.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah. And then I would fix my focus. Like, what does the Bible tell me to do? What does it say to do? Or like I would hold on to the promises that I would read about, like Romans 8:28. All things will, all things. I know this.
I was like, and you're putting me on the spot. My pregnancy brain is not gonna.
I promise I do. All things will work for the good of those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. And I believed that. And I still believe that. But I believed it back then, and I believe it, I believed it through, even though I wasn't seeing it yet. And I mean, because it's a process, and sometimes you've got a ways to go, sometimes you don't, sometimes you do. For me, it was a waiting period, a big, long waiting period, but I'm one of those, I want it right now. I don't want to wait. I want it right now. And now I like to think that I'm good with waiting. We're waiting. Okay, I'm waiting. I know there's a reason for it, but then also being grateful while you're working through all that. There's somewhere in your story that you can be grateful for. Something in there, Well,
and that's what I think I mentioned at some point. But I know you and I have talked about, like, when we first started talking about everything that happened, which was like weeks ago. I don't know. We see each other all the time now. But at some point you had told me, because I was telling you how angry I was and how hurt, and when you think you're close to somebody and then they betray you, and I was just expressing those feelings, and your response to me was like, which I know I mentioned this last week, but I just want to mention it again. But you were like, okay, so just think about this for a second. And I was like, oh gosh, what is she about to say? But then you were like, think into the future, which I can't remember your exact words, but you were pretty much telling me, like, let's think such and such time from now, either months or years from today. And this is what's happening in your life, and you've had this baby, and you're rocking and rolling, and like, what about writing a thank you note to somebody because of the situation that happened? You are now in a better place in your life than you have ever been before.
Yep.
And then I was like, there ain't no way I can think about that right now. But now, thinking on it, because, I was a public school teacher with my doctorate, so I was making a pretty penny. And then never thought, which I always had the goal of, like, I always wanted and, like, yearned for staying home and being a stay-at-home mom. But I couldn't, or I felt like I couldn't because I had student loan debt.
Yes.
I was the first child in my family to go to college.
Wow.
And so there was a financial piece that was holding me to working because if I'm staying home, I'm not contributing to this huge amount of debt that my family has because of me. So anyways, I felt obligated to work.
Yeah.
And then because of the situation that just happened, I felt my husband and I were put in a position where we were able to, like, I was able to quit my full-time teaching job and go to the preschool, which was a significant pay cut.
Right, but baby steps.
Right, and I was like, wait, we can make this work.
Right.
Like, okay.
Right.
And then, unfortunately, this situation happened, and then I quit, and now I'm home. And my husband and I were just talking the other day that while the financial situation is different, we feel more blessed now than we've ever in our entire life. And I'm just like, that was Melissa's words, that I am being more blessed in my life now. And I had to go through a terrible situation to get here, but it was all for a reason.
But it looks so much sweeter.
I know, yeah. But then, like, when you were talking about really changing your focus and being grateful for what happened.
Yeah.
And because it's like, I keep trying to tell myself, like, I know I said this earlier, like, I don't know what was happening on the other side.
Right.
And I don't know what was happening behind closed doors. I don't know what was being said. I don't know what the motivation was.
Right.
but I don't know the whole story. And like you have told me before, it's not my job to know the whole story. Mm-hmm. And, you know, God allowed everything to happen for a reason. Mm. And so like fixing my focus to be grateful for the situation.
Yeah.
And I do feel like I'm getting there, but I still, on a human level, am really hurt. But I am trying to be very grateful for my life that I have right now, because it is so good and so sweet. Yeah. So, anyways, I just had to say that.
And that's the point. Yeah. That's the point. That's the point. Because you're a fast learner. I like it.
It's that education in me, that education background. Don't you know? I'm always learning.
We're glad we paid for that then, let me tell you. But that's exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And, you know, sometimes even though you think you're ready to do something, and you are, that's really not what you're supposed to do. So he will slam that door shut just to get you to move to where you're supposed to be. That's what I have found. That is what I have found. And I didn't like it in the moment, because it's change and it's scary and it's, you know, I was comfortable over there. Mm-hmm. Well, it's time to get uncomfortable. Are you ready? Yeah. You know, I see it happen all the time, you know, personally. Like, I have got to a point where in my life, if something happens to me or around me or whatever, I can kind of look at it and see where it's taken me. Mm-hmm. And I don't get caught up anymore on my feelings like I used to, I think. I'm trying anyway. I don't feel like I hold on to stuff as much as I used to. I'm more able to let it go and be okay with it, with all of it, because I don't know if it's going to be good or bad. I don't know yet. And it could be bad, but it could be good. But until I get there, I won't know. So whatever you did to me or whatever to make me feel a certain way or, you know, have a certain opinion or whatever, I can't tell you today if it's good or bad. Even though I feel this way today, I'm not going to guarantee that it's a bad thing, because chances are it's not. You know, it always seems to be for a reason. There's a purpose for all of it. Mm-hmm. A purpose for all of it. Yeah.
And I know, like, before we started recording today, one of the things that just popped into my head and that we were talking about was, you know, like, I like to ask questions, and I always like to ask questions in defense of other people. Yeah. That's just like naturally, I'm like, but why were they doing that? Like, do we know? And so just asking those questions. And then I'll start asking questions about myself. Like, okay, so I'm perceiving what I did as, you know, biblically aligned, but was it? So then I start having like self-doubt, and I'm like, what if they weren't seeing it the way I was seeing it? And so I just start like, because like I said, I'm an internalizer, I'm a processor. Mm-hmm. But then I got to thinking about how, because you were talking about focusing on my relationship with God and ultimately nobody else matters. Right. And, you know, I've just never been in that mindset. I've always been like, it does matter what everybody thinks, because I want my character to shine Jesus. Right. That's all I could focus on, is when people are around me, I want them to think God. Yeah. And so then I'm like, if they're not seeing that, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? Right. And then it popped in my head when we were talking. I was like, but wait, Jesus wasn't like that. And that's what I was like, that was my aha moment is, you know, Jesus just did what was right and what was biblically aligned at all times. Yeah. And he ultimately, like, he cared for people. Yes. He loved people. Yes. He healed people. Yes. But there were also people, he had his people that followed him, and he had people that crucified him. Correct. And it was like, he ultimately didn't care. Like, he just did what was right between him and God, because he knew what God like instructed for him. There was a purpose. And then I was like, why am I not thinking that way? That's not saying I can like walk all over people and treat people any other way. Right. But that's me focusing on me
Yeah.
and the Bible
Yeah.
and God's alignment for me. And
Yeah.
if I'm thinking that way, then ultimately, like you said, it doesn't matter about everybody else. And I'm just like not quite in that mindset because I'm so like fixated. And I'm like, why am I thinking that way? Is it because of the world we live in? Is it because like, so that's part of what I'm trying to analyze about myself is why am I so worried? Because it's not even like, you know, you hear people talk about like, oh, how do people see me? Am I fat? Am I skinny? Am I beautiful? Like, it's not even like that. It's my character. Like, I want people to see me and be like, oh, she's a good person. And I'm like, why am I so worried about that?
Right.
And so, when you were talking about asking questions, I was like,
well, you've got to peel back those layers.
Yeah.
You know, because they're coming from somewhere. Like, you didn't just wake up and all of a sudden feel like you had to know, you know, this is what people thought of you, or you had to present a certain way. And until you did that, or until you got the acknowledgement from others, like you weren't doing it right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if it's because I do have friends that are either not Christians or they're not, you know, the same kind of denomination as me. I have a wide variety of friends. And then hearing how other people outside of the Christian circle speak of Christianity and religion.
Right.
So then I'm like, I don't, because, you know, one of the huge words that's used when it comes to Christianity is being a hypocrite. And I'm like, I think my biggest focus is like, I don't care who I'm around, Christian, non-Christian, whatever religion you are. I just want to be so authentically me that you don't have any questions.
Right.
And I think that's kind of like where my mind goes is I just want people to see me as a certain way.
Right.
Because that's who I feel like I am. I've worked so many years to be this person. So when people start spreading lies about me and start believing these lies, and I'm like, what in the world have I done to make you think that way? And I'm like, you know what it is? It's Satan, because Satan knows exactly how to get in my mind to make me self-doubt. So this is all like when you're going through these steps, I'm like, see, this is making me sound crazy because I'm just around it. It's like a
I do it.
I
do it. Yeah.
And so it's just,
I do it.
It's wild. And then, you know, honestly, I'm like, do men think this way? You know, I'm kind of like,
I don't think so.
Ooh, yeah, because it's just wild.
Yeah, they would be exhausted, wouldn't they?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. No, but you're right. And no, I've spent most of my time going around and around in my head, you know. But ultimately, I got somewhere. So that's the good news. You know, you do end up getting somewhere. But you do have to peel back those layers and process all of it. Like, ultimately, in the end, you're processing it from probably further back than you know.
Realize,
you know? And I don't know. I think it's a good thing. I think it needs to be done. I think it's healthy. You know, if you're doing it with the Bible, like you can't do it by yourself.
Right.
Because if you could, you would have by now.
Or even either by yourself or with somebody. Like if you're just sitting and talking things out, like that can be healthy, but it's not the same as digging into the word. It's not the
same. Yeah.
And so like you're hearing from another human perspective versus a God spoken. Yeah.
Yeah. And it does need to be on a heaven level. It does. Because when you go through life, I mean, we're human, therefore we sin every day, all the time. If you're looking for the truth, the only place you're going to find it is in His Word. Period. Doesn't matter what truth you're looking for. But if you're looking to heal yourself, what better way, would you recommend than looking through the eyes of the one that made you?
Absolutely.
I still am not sure that He was right about me, but here we are.
Yeah.
And He has taught me a lot of things, so you know I'm grateful. And there was a time a few years ago where I was going to a Christian counselor for all the healing, but I wanted to also learn more about the Bible and how to apply it to my life, you know. and he was referring to somebody that he had a client or whatever you call them prior, and how they had come back to him after their hurt or whatever and had said, I'm really, really grateful that this happened. And I looked at him like he had 50 heads, because I'm like, dude, I assure you I will never say that.
Yeah. Joke's on you.
But here I am saying it, and I've said it for a while.
Yeah.
But God knows what it's going to take also to break you, to get you to that spot where you ultimately know, I can't do it without you.
Yeah.
So I am grateful. Like, I wouldn't do it again. Not any of it.
But now you have the story and you have the testimony to help people like me
get through it.
Yeah, other people who are going through situations.
Yeah.
So I'm a big believer in testimonies, and
Yeah.
hopefully you don't have to go through it again. But it is.
But
now you have
you
the
know
wisdom.
what? Yeah. And I can't say that I'll never go through it again, because that would just be foolish.
But at least you'll have
and
more
naive.
experience.
But I have experience,
Yeah.
and I have the word, and the way I process things are different now.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm not. It's a completely different level today than years ago. Like it, really.
Yeah.
So it's weird.
Totally get that.
Yeah.
And I know, like, the 5 steps that she mentioned today, we're actually going to post them on our social media. And I'm going to put the links to both of those in the description below. So we have an Instagram and a Facebook, and we're trying to get better about posting on them. But we are going to list these 5 because I'm hoping next week she will talk about the other 5 that she has. Right? It was 10 steps altogether.
It was.
Or whatever you want to talk about.
I'm not sure.
Week,
like now that I'm thinking about the 10, I'm like, maybe it was really just going over these 5 over and over and over again, because it is a process.
Well, we are going to start.
Yeah.
We're really hoping to start posting on our social medias like a summary or reflection or something that had to do with our podcast, just kind of a visual that you can either save or have for your own library.
Yeah.
But so that was good. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. Yeah, so please check out our social media. That was, is there anything else you wanted to
No, I think we're good. I'll probably put some Bible verses along with,
just be on the lookout for some of our posts. And then if y'all have any thoughts or
we'd love to hear your comments, your feedback, anything, if you're going through some whatever,
Yeah, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I don't think we're saying
any
this
tips
just
for
me.
us.
Yeah.
Bring them.
A mic stand.
We need
yes,
them.
we know we're working on it. Look, there's no telling what this video is going to turn out like between playing with the mics and that's good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank y'all so much for watching today, and we look forward to seeing y'all next week.
Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got something.
Have the best Valentine's Day.
Yeah.